I guess it doesn't come as a surprise to Sonic fans when hearing that Rouge hasn't had much time to shine in the games as of the last decade, and is yet another character in the series whose characterization has been done some injustice. This is evident from the voice acting directions that have been met with skepticism, and the censorship of Rouge's design with intense and passionate discussions within the community occurring as a consequence. Earlier this year, many fans have expressed their dislike towards design changes, including, but not limited to, Rouge's now covered back, made clear in some official Sonic Channel art, as well as a smaller bust, particularly in the Racing Around the World campaign reveal trailer. As always though, I'm here to bring a psychological perspective to the table in today's character analysis, and this time, I have special guest Zealot Para here to join me. We'll take a closer look at Rouge's appearances in different Sonic games and media that portray her as a symbol of self-confidence, before seeing in terms of body image psychology how this symbol has been impacted by her design changes and censorship. We'll also consider the nuance and significance of her imperfections, and what they mean for us and many others who look up to Rouge as a role model. Without further ado, let's get right into it with Zealot's discussion.
Thank you, Bretta. For my half of the video, I'm going to be studying Rouge's personality and characterization from a narrative and thematic lens, so that when we switch over to Bretta's analysis on Rouge's body language and self-image, you'll hopefully understand what we're losing out on when she's censored, not just in the writer's room, but in the artistic and animation departments as well. From the beginning, Rouge is not just confident in herself, but very prideful as well. As a master jewel thief, she can be quite competitive, not only in her usual line of work, but in pretty much anything she participates in. Racing, sports, combat, and even when saving the world. Rouge, being a character who lacks any established backstory or upbringing, makes it difficult to infer exactly why she is the way she is. So, if at any point I say something that might not align with your view of the character, be aware that I'm bound to insert some of my own headcanon into some aspects of this analysis. But by all means, if I say anything incorrect, or even if you just disagree with me, feel free to leave a comment as long as you keep it civil and constructive. Rouge's ego shows both when she is proclaiming her own skills and pride in those skills. In a competition, she boasts when she wins and gets very irritated when she loses. These flaws of hers, however, I think are what makes her confidence all the more admirable. While it isn't exactly a display of mental maturity to be a sore winner or loser, it is realistic to feel these emotions when accomplishing or failing at something. These traits just make her more interesting and well-rounded. Rouge is passionate in what she puts her mind to, so of course she's going to feel strongly about the outcome. And yet, despite crushing defeats, she doesn't let them keep her down for very long, and continues on because she has faith in her own skills. She has confidence not just in herself, but in her passions as well. And that can be a hard thing for a lot of people to find within themselves. Bretta and myself have actually bonded over the fact that, for much of our lives, we've had a hard time finding solid conviction in the things we enjoy. Engaging in activities and interests, sharing those interests with others, and connecting with others through them was a hard thing for me to realize. But even as I was writing this script, I realized that if I ever doubt myself in the future, I can look to Rouge and her confidence for inspiration. Despite the fact of her being held back by lessened importance in this franchise over the years, it can still be entertaining and endearing to see Rouge find so much joy and purpose in what she does.
I've got a great idea. How about making a deal?
A deal?
When you grabbed that huge emerald, you said something about a reaction that it may have with the Master Emerald. Now, if you could just let me borrow that radar, I may be able to help you. What do you think?
If I do, what's in it for me?
I have an idea where the other Chaos Emeralds may be. It may not look like it, but do you know that I am a treasure hunter that specializes in all kinds of jewels?
Very well.
Okay then, it's a deal. I don't think we've been introduced. I'm Rouge the Bat, but you can call me Rouge.
We may be partners, but this doesn't mean I trust you.
Bad day or what?
When acting as a double agent for the government against Eggman, she meets Shadow for the first time. At first, she doesn't seem to take much interest in him as a person, only in him being a part of her mission to research Project Shadow. But after he saves her from the exploding prison island, she gets a glimpse at his true nature, his selfless, loyal heart of gold, buried beneath his trauma at the time. Although he denied saving her for anything other than the Chaos Emeralds, Rouge has an intuition for picking up on people's true motives, which is probably why she makes such a good spy. She's not one to be easily double-crossed or manipulated. After this event, she probably feels like she owes her life to Shadow. I don't believe she ever says as much or even thanks him, but Rouge isn't usually the type to show others gratitude with words. From Sonic Adventure 2 onwards, she shows loyalty to him whenever they're with each other, most prominently in Sonic 06. And yet, her personal interests haven't become any less important to her, but now, she has people to protect and spend time with along the way of pursuing her own goals. Believe it or not, there aren't very many interactions between her and Omega, but their brief conversation at the end of Team Dark's story in Sonic Heroes speaks volumes as to their relationship.
ここは私が処分しておこう。ねえ、オメガ。あのシャドウはアンドロイドの。やっぱいいわ。あとよろしく。コピーを作るためには、オリジナルの存在は不可欠だ。
For once, Omega says something non-violent. There's a surprising amount of nuance to this moment, because it shows that Omega did form a connection between Shadow and Rouge throughout the course of their journey in this game. They were the first comrades he'd ever made, and the first people who treated him as something other than a tool of destruction. Granted, they were destroying Eggman's robots along the way, and were only in it for their own individual goals at first, but Rouge and Shadow had freed him from confinement, and allowed him to fulfill his own desires. Because of this, I think it shows in this scene that Omega has gained respect for his new friends. He shows respect to Rouge by assuring her that the real Shadow must be out there somewhere, if he isn't already the one they'd been journeying with. These three are less open about their feelings for one another than, say, Amy and Tails are to Sonic. Team Dark have their own way of expressing care for one another, and while their goals may not always be the most innocent, the point isn't that these three are perfect role models. It's that they are flawed individuals with baggage, mostly Shadow and Omega for that last part, who show respect and care for each other by assisting one another as they pursue their respective goals. Not everyone is good at showing care for their friends and family through words or traditional acts of kindness, and this is part of what makes Team Dark so important to Rouge. I get the sense that making friends has brought out an empathetic side to Rouge. Prior to the events of SA2, she might not have gone out of her way to help anyone but herself. But in nearly every appearance, if not all, since then, she's seen helping others. This change in Rouge began not just with Shadow, but with Knuckles as well. Knuckles takes his heritage and duty to guard the Master Emerald very seriously, so of course he was going to be upset at Rouge for wanting it for herself. And that's what makes his willingness to forgive her when she gives up her desire to obtain it so commendable. It can be debated whether or not Rouge was faking it here to test Knuckles. She does have wings after all, so she probably wasn't in any real danger here, just startled by the fall. But I don't think she was testing him. At this point in her journey, Rouge still doesn't expect others to act selflessly to help her, and it shows in just how surprised she is when he saves her. Seeing this side of him perhaps reminded her of how Shadow saved her, and this compelled her to thank him in the form of giving up what she'd spent the whole game searching for. Knuckles could have resented her for threatening his duty and moved on, after she gave up the pieces, but he goes as far as to apologize before leaving, a level of vulnerability Rouge hadn't seen even from Shadow at that point. Knuckles changes here in opening himself up to someone a little, opening his mind to something outside of his duty to protect the Emerald. When we first meet Rouge, all she cares about is treasure hunting, but during the credits sequence, she hints at giving up that life to be with Knuckles. The writers don't commit to this moving forward, but it's a touching arc nonetheless. Shadow and Knuckles had awakened new feelings within her, feelings of companionship and trust, feelings outside of her own selfish desires. Making friends has enriched Rouge's life and given her opportunities to do and feel things she probably never experienced before. If there is anything to take away from Rouge's presence in this franchise, it is that no matter how happy and fulfilled you might be with your own interests and hobbies, there is something absolutely invaluable in forming connections with others, and even someone as confident and powerful as Rouge can become an immense force for good, if only they would come out of their shell and reach out to others, at least once in a while. Hopefully my section of this video has highlighted what makes Rouge so special, at least to me, when she is written meaningfully. Surprisingly, I found that in terms of her personality and characterization, she is actually one of the more consistent characters in this series. The things that have been holding her back over the years have been her English voice direction, her importance in the narrative, and of course her physical appearance being toned down. And now, this is where Bretta's analysis comes in.
As Zealot discussed earlier, Rouge wears her pride and confidence on her sleeve, not only in her personal pursuits, but also when she's seen cooperating with allies and making decisions for her future. One of the main ways that she displays this self-confidence is via communication through her body language and actions. In SA2, for example, whenever she confronts Knuckles, she waves her hand a lot towards him as if in dismissal, and seems to take up a lot of the space around her with other quite exaggerated gestures and movements. Knuckles is also seen doing a similar thing now and then, but it's probably more for reciprocating Rouge's movement responses back to her during their rivalry for competitive reasons. Other examples of body language that conveys her self-confidence come from Sonic X, where she may wink towards the characters she speaks to or even struts around like she's on a catwalk. As Rouge presents herself in this way, she gives a natural impression of self-confidence, since it's not just her words doing the talking, and this makes her expressions appear more authentic. This suggests that earlier in Sonic media, around the time of the early 2000s, Rouge had a positive body image, which, according to researcher Wood Barkalow and her colleagues, can be characterized by appreciation for one's natural and unique body shape and size, as well as being comfortable in one's body. However, the animation of recent Sonic media starring Rouge and the new changes to her design show that her body language has changed. She less frequently makes gestures and movements that take up large amounts of space, and instead appears to use her words and tone of voice more often to try to convey her self-confidence. This may come across as successful or unsuccessful depending on whether or not you like the current voice direction for Rouge. With the footage I'm letting roll on here in the background, you can see that examples of this shift from emphasis on body language to words and tone of voice come from Shadow Generations, Dark Beginnings, Dream Team, Forces, and more. This change also potentially highlights a change in Rouge's body perception, or in other words, body schema. According to researcher Kiza and her colleagues, body schema is the unconscious component of someone's view of their body, affecting how they move and make gestures without directly thinking about it. With a body schema potentially geared towards smaller movements, Rouge's expression of pride and confidence appears more inauthentic, at least to me. It's almost like she's trying too hard to act like herself as opposed to being herself, and has resulted in her embodying a weaker symbol of self-confidence for those who look up to this character due to what she used to stand for. It's not certain whether Rouge may or may not have completely developed a negative body image over the years. This is an interpretation after all, but even though I can't speak for everyone who looks up to and identifies with Rouge, I believe some may be likely to slowly develop negative body images themselves, as one of the consequences of changing aspects of Rouge's design as of late. Negative body image would be characterized by viewing the size and shape of one's body as a significant indicator of self-worth, and possibly feeling the need to work towards a socially acceptable body ideal, thin or otherwise, in order to feel validated by others. Many people in the real world with a negative body image may also constantly feel awkward or anxious about how their body looks in certain clothes, evident in a potential need to cover up more, for example, in order to meet societal expectations and receive validation in place of the missing self-confidence that used to stem from accepting how their bodies looked. This may apply more so in the case of those with similar body types to Rouge's old design. In other words, the censorship that Rouge's design has undergone may have inadvertently made such fans feel misrepresented. Rouge's original body type is a fundamental part of her character, and it gave a variety to the possible body types Sonic characters could have. So the censorship of her appearance may have sent the message that body types similar to that of Rouge's old design aren't acceptable. Most likely unintentional on Sega's part, of course, but this takeaway can have devastating effects on one's mental health and well-being, diminishing people's confidence in themselves, their abilities, and their bodies in the absence of a character in her full glory with whom to identify. So now this brings up the question, how do we deal with the issue regarding Rouge's design changes and their impact on body image and self-confidence? Well, media companies are likely to change an element of their series that comes across as any least bit controversial, but one way around this and the detrimental impact on well-being is reminding ourselves that we all have unique body types and appearances. We shouldn't feel stigmatized because of them. We should celebrate and appreciate our natural body shapes and sizes, and understand that in the real world, our physical appearances say little about our core values. Sure, this all might be easier said than done, given the current state of Rouge's characterization and how she continues to be characterized, but I still see her as a positive symbol. In spite of the dismay I and others feel towards her design changes, she'll always stand as a reminder to have self-confidence, because no one but ourselves knows what we're truly capable of. I'm sure Rouge would agree that believing in your potential regardless of physical appearance is important no matter what life throws at you, and she would want all of us to fly in that freedom. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. That's it for today's video. I will say that it was quite the welcome challenge trying to write my portion of the script, not only because I was initially struggling with how to structure my thoughts, but also because I wanted to be careful in how I expressed these thoughts, given that body image is quite a sensitive topic. I'm nonetheless really proud of how this all turned out. I have to give a massive thank you to Zalot Para for joining me in this exploration of Rouge's character and giving his thoughts on her throughout the series. I've left links to his YouTube and Twitch channels in the description below, so make sure to go follow and support him. He's a very fun crossword streamer and an awesome fellow video essayist. I have yet to decide which Sonic character to analyze next, so stay tuned. In the meantime, if you enjoyed today's video, consider leaving a like, comment and subscribe for more in-depth takes on the Sonic characters just like this one. Anyways, thanks again everyone. I hope you have a good rest of your day or night. Take care.